On this episode, I discuss why I took a 1 year sabbatical after I left the military and how I successfully did it and how you can do it as well. So let's get started. You are listening to Sister Soldier Entrepreneur. Sister Soldier Entrepreneur is the podcast for and by African American women veterans entrepreneurs. Host is Rolande, CEO and founder of Okay, so this is going to be a solo episode with just yours truly, Rolande Sumner, and I'm going to discuss why and how I took a 1 year sabbatical after I left the military, things that I did to make it successful, and why you should too. So let's get started. I retired out and I immediately got a civilian job, and it didn't work out. I was fired after a couple of months, and it devastated me because, as we know, in the military, they don't fire you. Like, you have to do something really bad to get fired. They retrain you 100 times. They will reassign you, and then they might think about firing you. But they're trying to get their money's worth because they invested quite a bit on you. So when I was fired, I was devastated. I was like, oh my goodness, how could they just throw me away like that? And I boohoo cried, and then I got up one day and started my business. It was a little hasty, but hey, if you don't want me, I want me, so I'm just gonna make this happen. It forced me to take a year off from work because I couldn't get a job for a year, and but it forced me to take a year off. And it was the best thing that happened to me because I was able to really see life differently and calm down and decompress. Why do you need to take a year off after you leave the military? Because the military is another world of its own. You can literally live your life confined and surrounded by the military and have little to no contact with the civilian world if you wanted to. They make it so you don't have to go out and interact with civilians ever if you don't want to. They don't do a great job in preparing you when you need to start to live in the rest of the world, however. And so it's a lot of change that happens when you leave the military because it's a different culture in the civilian sector. Civilians see things in a different way. They don't see life as we do. They have a different code of ethics. They have a different lingo. Their needs are set up differently. And so that's a lot to take in and to adjust to because we're basically brainwashed. We get in with our bad habits and they, train us some more until we are now the soldier they need us to be. And then we stay that way until we leave. So it's a lot. It's definitely a lot to take in when you make that transition, which can take years, by the way. When you make that transition from being a service member to a full-time civilian without the service. But the time I took off, it helped me to decompress. The military, I found it to be a very high stress environment at all times. And so the civilian side is really not a high stress environment. It's a lot less stressful. And it's a lot what I found difficult was, looking at people thinking, how come you don't find this important as I do? How come you're not giving your other teammates support? Like, we're here. I don't have to like you to give you support. And always feeling like the mission or my job was more important than everything else. That adjustment was hard it was hard for me to sit down and process that through my mind and think that it's okay for everybody else not to feel that way. The second thing that occurred was I had time to think about what I really wanted. So when you're working with Uncle Sam, you want whatever Uncle Sam wants. And you harbor or you hide what is really important to you. Like if you wanted to be a musician, you hide that. You don't really talk about it much. You might do it on your off time, but you don't really get into it that much. So it gave me time to really sit down and think about what Rolanda, wanted. That time was awesome because I got to be honest and open with myself and say, you know what, I really don't want to ever work weekends again. And I really don't want to ever work nights again. And I really just want to be home with my kids and my husband and to take care of them. And I really want to build this business to something that is going to support my desire to take care of my family and be there for them. And regardless of what you really, really want to do deep down inside, it gives you time to think about what you want. Because you don't have really any other distractions besides traditional day-to-day life. So what is it that you want? What is it that you want? I'm going to tell you this. I never thought I was going to really care for this, but I love being a housewife. I mean, I have a 9-to-5 right now because I had to go back to work to pay some, help pay bills and whatnot until my business picked up. But I love waking up in the morning and making my family breakfast and getting them out the door and then coming back home and making sure the dogs were okay and then working on my business and squeezing in dinner sometime and making lunch and, all of the things that come with being a busy housewife. And I also learned that housewives have a lot of work to do. They got a lot of stuff to do. Like, I was amazed about how many things popped up for me to do now that I wasn't working. Like, why didn't I see that before? There's a lot to do. So it's not, I apologize to all the other housewives in the world because I used to think, that's all they're doing is just taking care of the family. It's not that big of a deal, but it is. It is. I was always so very busy. And so I really enjoy it. You may not want to do that, and that's okay. You might want to travel around the world and be a photographer, or you might want to teach kids in Africa. You might want to do a whole bunch of other things, but whatever you want to do, it gives you time to think about it and be honest with yourself and open and not be afraid to say, this is what I really want to do when all is said and done. And I had time to care for myself. So the days I was having a bad day, I was able to take a nap if I needed to. I was able to go to the counselor or my psychiatrist or the VA or whoever I needed to care for myself without having to ask for permission from my boss or a boss if I can do it. Like I was able to just get up and go. Hey, I have an appointment on Monday. I'm going to go to that appointment. I don't have to take off time because guess what? I have a year off. And that's important to have time and to give yourself permission to take care of yourself. I was able to get my nails done and my toes done if I wanted to. If I wanted to get my hair done, I had the time to do so. So it's nice. Now, what you might be thinking is, well, who's paying the bills? How are bills? You're not going to be living off of air, are you? No. Luckily, my husband was very supportive and he works a really good job. And so he was able to take the brunt of the financial burden. And then I have a VA benefit that comes in. But I'm going to tell you give you ways on how we did it and how you can do it too. Now, a word from our sponsors. Podbean is an easy-to-use, all-in-one podcast hosting and publishing platform. Podbean offers podcasting with no limits, and all plans have robust features to help you succeed with your podcast. You can even record and publish podcasts right from your mobile phone with the Podbean app. Podbean also offers integrated monetization tools so you can earn revenue for the work you create. To get started, visit podbean.com/ButterAngels. Butter Angels handcrafted skincare creates natural vegan skincare products made with exotic ingredients from around the world. Butter Angels soothes and moisturizes dry skin from the face, hands, elbows, knees, and let's get back to the program. And this message, which is probably something I should have said in the beginning, this message is really designed for the person who is active duty in some facet, whether they are traditional active duty or they're AGR or what have you. Because these resources are the resources I know that will be able to address those needs. But if you're a traditional reservist and you need to take the time off, and you know of different ways that you can do so, please share them, because I don't want this to be an only active duty show or what have you. I want this to be for everybody. So the first thing you can do, particularly if you hadn't gotten out yet, especially if you project that you will be getting out in some years, go ahead and start paying those bills off and stop making credit, stop making debt. So pay off your credit cards, pay off your car, pay off, the personal loan. If you can, pay off your house if you can, but pay off as many bills as you can and save money. There are two programs that I advocate, and one of them is the Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey. And he gives you a great way to do so, a great way to start the process of paying off your debt and living a good life. And then the other one is Profit First by Mike Michalowicz. Profit First is generally designed for businesses so they can pay themselves first. Without having to wait 3 to 5 years to get a paycheck. You can pay yourself first and still have even more growth in your business and a thriving business. But these principles can be used. There's a portion in his book in the end where he talks about how you can apply the profit first concept to your life. And I think if you work with these two books, it will help you to get through your debts and pay bills and to save money so that you're not struggling too much or struggling at all. If you just got fired, or you just got out and you're like, I can't find a job, then go ahead and read those books, get a mom and pop job, get something small to help you, but keep listening because I have some other things that might help you out. But first, most importantly, you have to save money and you have to pay off bills. Now, when you're saving money, if you have time to do all this, is you need to know how much money that you can use, one, to survive. How much money do you need to survive, just to survive and do nothing fancy? And then how much money you need to thrive, to have fun, to travel, to eat, and do all the other things you want. Once you decide how much money you need to survive, now you have at minimum, you need at minimum goal. And then once you decide how much money you need to thrive, that is the goal you're going to go for. So if you need, $100,000 a year to thrive, then you're going to shoot for $100,000 in your savings and in your income plan. But if you need just, $50,000 to survive, then you're going to set up a plan that's going to help you at least meet your $50,000 goal, but hopefully reach your $100,000 goal if that's possible. If you don't have that much money in the bank, that's okay. We're going to talk about other ways you can make it through the year, but it is ideal that you pay off your bills and save enough money to thrive on for the 12 months. It's ideal. You can do it without that, but it's ideal. The second thing I did was I had a VA benefit. I didn't have a pension plan because I chose to use my VA benefit from the VA when I got out. That money kicked in. It was most of what I was making anyway, not all, but it was most of what I was making anyway. So that did compensate for a good deal of the money I wasn't making. So I had the VA benefit. What I suggest you do is start to look into that. Start to look into utilizing your VA benefit. And I have a guest on the show, Angela Hall-Smith, and there's an episode where she's a VA service representative and she tells you how to go through the process. She gives you good tips and tricks on how to do so, and the link is below for that episode where you can listen or watch how you get your VA benefit, even if you've gotten out and you want your VA benefit. She gives you tips and tricks on how to do so. When you research it, say you're still serving, when you research this, you're going to have to ask around, because unfortunately, there's not going to be a lot of people who are going to want to share all of the information you need to be successful. So you're going to have to ignore the attitude and really buckle down and start researching. Call, read books, show up at place, like show up to the VA and say, hey, I need to talk to somebody who's going to be able to help me out. Talk to your admin NCO, and if they don't know, talk to brigade and talk to division, but talk to people who are versed in retirement plans in the VA so that you can plan accordingly. Third, you can use unemployment. So six months up to a year after you retire, you can get unemployment benefits from your state. The state of South Carolina, I think you get 6 to 12 months. But either way, before you get out of the military, find out what states have the best unemployment practices, and then maybe make a choice based on what state has the best unemployment practices and the best veteran affairs practices. And maybe that can be a state that you consider. If you're already out, contact your unemployment office and ask them, are you eligible for unemployment? And they'll tell you what documents you need and what else you need to do. But there's no shame in getting unemployment because your hard-earned dollars paid for it. Uncle Sam took that money out, so go ahead and use it. Find out what else the government will cover. So when we were leaving, Fort Jackson said, hey, for up to a year, we will move you to one location, one final location on us. Luckily for them, we only moved 100 miles away from where we were. So they paid for the move. They paid for the move, the gas. I mean, all we had to do was watch them pack up our stuff and watch them unpack our stuff. It was awesome. Moving your big old family to another area is really expensive. And so the United States government said, thank you very much. We're going to pay you to get off of our books and on to bigger and better things. Find research, see if they will give you anything. What other privileges are you allowed to keep? Are you allowed to go to the commissary? Can you get clothing? What about transportation? You're going to need to do some footwork and put in some elbow grease to find out what else the government will cover when you leave the military. Did you know in the state of South Carolina that if you have 90% disability, that you have a dramatic reduction in your homeowner's insurance? Why is that important? Because that's more money in your pocket that you don't have to spend. So start doing some footwork now to find out what the United States government will cover when you leave the military. If you're already out, what things are you missing? Call your local DAV, call the Women's Social Justice Network, contact Minority Women Veterans Organization, Upstate Warrior Solution, contact all your local veteran groups like Waypoint Griffin in Atlanta or in Georgia, so they can tell you what you can get, what you're eligible for. And then another thing is start thinking of potential side hustles, little things that you can do that can bring in a little extra cash when things are tight. Can you give plasma? Can you drive for Uber? Can you drive for Lyft? Can you deliver groceries with Shipt or another grocery delivery group? What can you do that will help you bring in a couple of extra dollars when times are tight? And then the last thing is think outside the box. Don't be afraid to come up with a creative solution to answer whatever problem you have. Just because no one else is doing it doesn't mean it can't be done. So think outside the box. Work with Wounded Warrior or Disabled American Veterans, DAV or DAV. Work with Women Veterans Social Justice Network or Waypoint Griffin or any other local or national group that specializes in veteran services. There are organizations out there that want to give you money. They want to give you resources. They want to help you, and they don't consider it charity either. They're like, look, this is our way of paying you back for your service. So look into those things. Speak to your children and your spouse and whoever else is involved, directly involved with you and your finances, about potentially taking a year off and what that means to the family and what that means to them. Talk to them so that they are aware of what you would like to do, and what you want to do. And maybe you guys can come up as a family on how you can make this happen. So if you have already taken a year off, or if you want to take a year off, or if you have ideas on how to take a year off after your military service, go ahead and comment below and I will answer you back. And if I have enough suggestions, guess what? I might be able to make another episode so that I can share your ideas with other people. So thank you so much for listening, and I will speak to you guys later. Thank you for tuning in to Sister Soldier Entrepreneur, the podcast created for and by African American women veteran entrepreneurs. Sister Soldier Entrepreneur is powered by Butter Angel's Handcrafted Skincare. Butter Angel's Handcrafted Skincare is handcrafted, natural vegan skincare created with exotic ingredients from around the world. To be a guest on our show, please visit butterangels.com and click on Sister Soldier Entrepreneur. We would love to hear from you.